There are two Yoga Nidra. One is I call it level 1, and the second is, of course, level 2, right? Because after 1, 2 comes. So, what to do? So, we should be more focused on the part 1 because this gives you the first-hand experience of it doesn't do like for everybody in the beginning, but it can open up the doors of your own understanding and your own experience about I'm not a body. Now you may listen it million times, you are not a body, but this doesn't becomes your awakening. This doesn't becomes your experience. This doesn't becomes your understanding. So listening alone is not enough. Unfortunately, most of the people think Vedanta means just sit down comfortably on a plush seat and just listen. That's not the case. It requires very dedicated spiritual yogic practices because the eligibility for Vedanta is for a very, very, I would say, the attributes are too high and too great. So Yoga Nidra is something which gives you the ability to look into that window where you can see yourself of being not the body, being not the mind, being able to see totally where mind is absolutely as if non-existent because it's so quiet. It's so still. It's like if you have ever been to a lake which is like of still waters. Not a ripple, not a wave. So Yoga Nidra can possibly give you that experience. That your mind becomes a ripple-free, still, lake-like. The mind is as translucent as it can be. Like you can't see through an opaque wall what's across. But if there is a glass, which is a clear glass and clean glass, then of course, being inside, you can look outside. So Yoga Nidra has the potential to give you that kind of mind where the mind becomes like a transparent, translucent wall and you can see your own self and you can see what's outside the mind or outside the body, the visible world. So it changes the perspective, the way you see your own mind. Because actually you have never seen your own mind. You deal with the actions or the choices which your mind makes. But you haven't addressed or encountered your own mind. So it is a possibility that for years a person is doing Yoga Nidra and yet that breakthrough moment is not happening. So just mark my word. The mind has to be that transparent that it's in a way non-existent. Or should I say it doesn't become an obstruction in addressing, acknowledging and encountering your own reality. Now you think you need a mind to know about yourself. Whereas the situation is this, that mind itself is an object which is known by me. And mind in itself doesn't have the capacity to know the self. Now this might seem very paradoxical statement. But well, I never said it's easy. Your engineering, your medical, your astrophysics or whatever is very easy. But not this. Because you can't see your own mind as an object and put it under a microscope and observe and check and label and define. It's like you wish to use the microscope of the mind to see what Atma is or what Paramatma is, which won't happen in any day. So all the scientists, bent mind people might say that we will only accept God if we can observe and analyze God in a dish tray under a microscope. So I always say this, that the day you can put your mind in a dish tray and look via the microscope, your own mind, then maybe the way you wish to approach the truth might happen, which won't happen at all. So Yoga Nidra part 1 is actually not just an introductory Yoga Nidra, but it is the method for anybody who wishes to understand one's own conscious, unconscious, subconscious mind. Again, it's a huge thing. It's not a small thing. So until that is experienced, now this is not something which you can earmark that, okay, I will accomplish this in 6 months or 6 years of time. It might happen in maybe few days, weeks, months, years, can't say. But there are surely some signs which one can follow to know whether you are on the right track or not. So go deeply into this. The job of the eyes is to see. The job of ear is to hear. Although they are part of one particular, these 5 senses are part of the astral body, the Sukshma Sharira. Yet each and every organ, each and every sense has its very own distinctive feature and function. What eyes can do, the ears can't. What ears can do, the nose can't. What nose can do, the tongue can't. What tongue can do, your skin can't. It's not interchangeable. The 5 senses of knowledge have their very exclusive functions. Similarly, the prana has a very exclusive function. So pran, apan, udan, vayan, saman. So you just need to go more deeply into this, the way I have explained it. In Bhagavad Gita, I have done it. In Patanjali Yoga Sutra, again, I have done it. So just go more deeply into it. When we say the death has happened, we are not saying that the eyes have died and the ears have died, or the nose has died, or the tongue has died. We say the prana has left the body. Because prana was the medium, or should I say the bridge through which this body and the senses of action and knowledge were doing their activities. So if there is no prana in a gross body, then all the 10 senses will stop functioning. Beginning from prana, that is the breath which is happening, beginning to all the other 4 functions of the prana, and then there are another 5 subtypes of the prana, which is the blinking of eyes or yawning or hiccups, etc., etc. So these 5 prana, then 5 upapranas, are collectively called as one. That is just one word, and that is prana. So when we say this is life, then what is life? Then life is prana. And when we say what is death, then death is prana. Meaning when the prana is not there, the death has commenced. And actually the degradation of the body, of the dead body, is also happening because of one subtype of prana, that is Dhananjaya. that is going to increase the catabolism in such a way. You are a doctor, you know it, that for next, once the death has happened, there might be still the fecal removal, bowel movement happening in the dead body. There could be still bladder might function and the urine might get released out of the body. So that system is still functioning. So the total death of a body, or should I say that until, if you don't touch the body, you don't burn it, you don't bury it, you don't do anything, you just leave the body, what will happen? So-called death has happened, but yet there are certain functions which are still occurring for next 10 hours almost. And then the point will come where because of the heat and because of the liquid from all the orifices, those liquid would start getting dispensing. You don't do anything and it's there. And if the weather is warm and hot, then very soon the maggots will be formed and the maggots will eat all the flesh and muscle and whatever is left. So what would be the remainder would be the skeleton. And then once the maggots have done with the body, the maggots, because there is no food, the maggots too will die. So what's left is just skeleton. So even now we are finding skeletons in Egypt, we are finding them in South America, and just lately they found one which is, the dating was done. They say it's good 50,000 years old. So actually what the Westerners were talking about, that this is, like they put the number on the Indian civilization and they say it's around about 7,000 years old. And then they find a body, meaning a skeleton, or they find a cave. And when they do the carbon dating of that cave, the rocks and the stone over there, and the structure which they find, or utensils which they find, then they say, oh, this is 20,000 years. Like it happened with Dwarika, the part of the Dwarika which is submerged in the ocean. National Geographic has a beautiful documentary onto it. They found a complete city under the seawater. And they brought some objects, like some utensils were there, some bricks, some stones, some jewelry item was there. And when the carbon dating was done, it was 35,000 years old. Now, had it been, of course, this finding was available and sometime in 1970s, but that government asked this person to stop all kind of excavation or the archaeological survey which he wanted to do. And it's only now, just few years ago, when this thing started happening again. And this whole team came from Europe with all the tools and the machinery which was required to go deep down under the sea and to see what kind of, these ruins were there. So the point is that what you find sometimes in the books is not true. It's very suitable to certain people. That's why they hide the facts. And what I mean to say is that the body is functioning because of prana, and the body, when the death happens, what moves out initially is the prana. Now, surely the prana is one component of the Sukshma Sharira. But here I am not talking about Sukshma Sharira. In the word Gata soon, who travels? It is the prana which travels. And when we say Jiva, then the Jiva means the reflected Chaitanya in the Antakaran. Can you understand now the difference? The Sukshma Sharira is constituted of 17 ingredients. One is the 5 pranas, right? But when we are going to talk about death, it's like when I'm going to talk about how do you see? Then you say, I see through my eyes. You don't say, I see through my hands. You don't say, I'm seeing through my forehead. Very specific function. So similarly, when we say birth has happened, then we don't consider birth where a new a baby is being pulled out of a mother's womb. We say that has happened. The birth has happened only then when that body is breathing, like the stillborn baby. It's a full-fledged baby, but that baby is dead. And the dead baby was pulled out of that woman's body. So can you say this woman gave birth to a baby? No, you would say it was a stillborn baby. It's already dead. There can be various reasons for that. So what is birth? Birth is not when a body is out of the mother's body. Birth is considered when that baby breathes on its own. So that first breath when goes in, that is what technically a birth can be considered as a birth. It's not about that body. So similarly, if I say what is death? So death will be when prana leaves the body. And our yogis have very beautifully, abundantly, they have exhibited where they stop the heartbeat, where they stop the pulse, where they stop the breathing, gave the time that for next 10 minutes, this body will be dead. And if it is dead, then you have to sign the certificate. Swami Rama did it. Not once, but more than 3 times. And the panel of the doctors, seeing all the vitals not functioning, wrote the death certificate. And in 20 minutes, pulse is back, heart beating is back, EEGs are back, ECGs are back. And they said, what was that?